You have a task. It's been sitting there for 3 days, maybe a week. You know exactly what it is. You know it matters. At some point today, you actually sat down to do it. You opened the laptop, you had the intention, you were ready, and then nothing happened. Not nothing as you got distracted, nothing like your brain just refused. You stared at the screen, you opened a different tab, you checked your phone for no reason. You may have gone to get a glass of water and somehow ended up reorganizing the kitchen counter instead. And now, it's an hour later, the task is still there. And on top of the original stress, you've added a fresh layer of guilt on top. If that sounds familiar, stay with me. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why that happens, and you're going to have 2 tools you can actually use today. And the first thing I want to say before anything else is this. You are not lazy, you are not broken, and you are definitely not the only person who has sat in that exact spot, wondering what is wrong with them. There's a name for what's happening. It's called executive dysfunction. And once you understand it, really understand it, the guilt starts to loosen its grip a little. So what actually is executive dysfunction? Think of the executive functions in your brain like an air traffic control system. Their job is to manage everything, prioritizing tasks, initiating action, switching focus, holding instructions in working memory, managing time, and regulating emotions. Without them working properly, things don't take off. Planes just sit on the runway. For adults with ADHD, that system doesn't run the way it does for neurotypical brains. It's not that the planes aren't there. The destination is clear. The fuel is loaded. Everything is theoretically ready. But the signal to take off never quite comes. That's not a willpower problem. That's a neurological one. The ADHD brain has differences in dopamine regulation, the chemical that drives motivation, reward, and the feeling that something is worth starting. When a task doesn't produce enough immediate stimulation or urgency, the brain genuinely struggles to fire the starting signal. Not won't, struggles too. This is why you can spend 4 hours watching videos or deep diving into something completely random and then feel utterly unable to write one email that takes 6 minutes. It's not about effort. It's about how your brain is wired to respond to what feels interesting or urgent right now. There are usually a few things going on when the freeze hits. The task has no visible edge. It's not that the task is actually impossible. It's that your brain can't find where it begins. There's no clear first step, just this shapeless blob of the thing I need to do. And the brain doesn't handle vagueness well. Vague feels risky, so it shuts down before you've even touched it. Perfectionism is quietly blocking the door. This one is sneaky because it doesn't look like perfectionism. It just looks like a delay. But underneath a lot of freezing is this thought. If I start and do it badly, that's worse than not starting at all. Staying frozen keeps the possibility alive that you could have done it perfectly. Starting removes that safety net. The reward feels too far away. The ADHD brain struggles with future payoff. Finishing this will reduce your stress. You know it matters. But that version of you, the relieved one, the done one, exists somewhere in the future. And right now, the present brain is louder. No immediate reward, no ignition. Sometimes, it's not even the task itself. It's the 3 things that need to happen before you can start. Finding the file, logging in, clearing a space. Each small obstacle stacks on the last one. By the time your brain has calculated everything standing between you and actually beginning, it quietly walks away. So what do you actually do about it? Here are 2 things that work specifically for ADHD brains. Not because they're motivational, but because they work with the way your brain functions rather than against it. The 2-minute entry. Not the 2-minute rule you've probably heard, where you do it if it takes less than 2 minutes. This is different. This is where you make a deal with yourself that you are only going to do 2 minutes. That's it. You're not starting the task. You're entering it. You open the document and write one terrible sentence. You pull out the materials and put them on the desk. You open the tab and read the first paragraph. Nothing more is required. The reason this works is because of something called task activation. The hardest part for the ADHD brain isn't doing the work. It's breaching the gap between not started and started. Once you're in the task, momentum is much easier to maintain. 2 minutes gets you across that gap. What happens after is often surprising. The bridge task. A bridge task is a tiny, low-resistance action that makes the real task easier to begin. It's not the task. It's the thing just before the task that removes one layer of friction. Hey, if you need to write something, open the document, and just put a title on it. If you need to make a difficult phone call, find the number and write it down somewhere visible. If you need to work out, put your shoes by the door the night before. None of these things completes the task, but they close the distance between where you are and where you need to start. And for an ADHD brain, distance is the enemy. Here's the bigger picture. The reason typical productivity advice doesn't work for you isn't that you haven't tried hard enough. It's because most productivity advice was built for a different kind of brain, a brain that can rely on long-term motivation, a brain that just makes a to-do list is a solution rather than another source of overwhelm. Your brain needs different tools, simpler entry points, fewer steps between intention and action, systems that account for the fact that discipline alone isn't the answer, structure is, systems that work with how you actually think, not how you're supposed to think. If you want to go deeper into this, I've written books specifically for adults with ADHD that go further into these strategies. The links are in the description, and they're worth a look if today's video connected with you. There are also digital resources down there built around the same ideas, practical, ADHD friendly, and designed to actually be used rather than just saved and forgotten. And if you want to be around other adults with ADHD who are working through the same things, not just consuming content but actually building better systems together, I have a community called Brighter Brains over on School. It's a space built specifically for people like you. The link for that is in the description too. Subscribe if you want more of this. There's a lot more coming on focus, routines, emotional regulation, time blindness, and building systems that don't fall apart after 3 days. All of it was built specifically for the ADHD brain, none of it generic. And before you go, drop a comment below with the task you've been avoiding. Just name it. No judgment at all. Sometimes saying it out loud is the first tiny bridge task that makes starting feel just a little bit less impossible. You're not lazy, you never were. Your brain just needs a different door in.